very curious to see how cosmic mass would be accepted here in our culture.
Also,
because
how we will structure it, because he just said that in England and the US it was not the same.
Exactly.
So again, we need a study of Italian culture,
Exactly.
and before we even try, and by trial and error,
Absolutely.
we'll figure out the Italian version of it.
because what's the difference between your mass and the Catholic mass? I mean, the core difference.
Well, the core difference is that we dance.
Yeah.
We don't sit in
There you
pews.
go.
Participation, body participation.
Exactly, participation of everyone, because no one can dance for you. So everyone is a priest. The posse is the priest, because I define priest as midwife of grace. So if you're bringing grace into yourself through your dance and to others through the community experience, that's a priestly act. There's also, of course, images. So we have 4 screens usually. So the theme of the Mass is very carefully chosen. For example, the theme of the Mass in Colorado, the theme of the conference was the awakening heart. So we chose as the theme of the Mass the heart. So the Via Positiva is the heart of awe, the awe that awakens the heart. Via Negativa is the broken heart, and so forth. And the Via Transformativa is the heart of service and justice, and compassion. But we do have the Eucharist, but we what should I say? We deconstruct it from the normal sense of priesthood, and this is how we do that. We usually have 4 people at the altar, which is round and in the center of the group. And of course, remember, there are no pews. You're in a big hall of some kind, whether it's we did it once at a college in the ballroom, and there were 1,400 people there. In a ballroom is a good place to dance. You have to have a good floor for your knees, so you can dance. Gymnasiums, ballrooms, and so forth. Hotel spaces that give you that big space with the rug, good for your knees. But the center altar will have at least 4 celebrants. And I always like to have at least 1 ordained priest, so no one can dismiss it. So of course I'm an ordained priest, so I would be there. And when I'm, like at our most recent Mass there in Colorado, there was a Jewish rabbi. So he was one of the people to pray at the table. There was a Celtic singer who led us in marvelous song and everything from Gregorian chant that she sang to Gaelic songs. She was at the altar, and she prayed in Gaelic, he prayed in Hebrew, and then there was a Jewish woman who also prayed. So we each offer prayers. And of course I lead the Eucharistic prayer, but I don't read it. I don't believe in reading prayers. But this is my body, and I get everyone to say this together. Me with everyone else. So they echo, this is my body, this is my... We don't use the phrase, this is my blood, because that's very offensive to Jews. Jews have a real problem with that phrase about blood. So I say, this is my life force. But it's set in a cosmic context. Because the Mass is about communing with the cosmic Christ, not just Jesus. And that expands it very, very much. And Teilhard, of course, wrote a whole hymn about the hymn to the universe, a whole Mass around the cosmic Christ, too. So the key is dance. The Mass begins really with an 18-minute dance of the Via Positiva. So you're showing the pictures of beauty, or whatever the theme is, the positive side of it. And then it ends, the last dance is at the very end, after communion. It's the Via Transformativa dance. It's a warrior dance, to get strong, to go back into the world and do justice and compassion. So you have slides then. So when you're dancing to common images, you're praying together without speaking. Of course, you've got the music going. Now, that I suspect is where the Italians can adapt wonderfully, because when we began, techno was very strong in the culture. It's not so strong. In fact, we even called itself the Techno-Cosmic Mass, but we dropped the word techno a number of years ago, now just the Cosmic Mass. And now we have live musicians, but we also have electronic music. And we have up-to-date DJs, you know, who are, in fact, who you get the right one, and they speak a universal language, and they draw people. Let me give an example. The Mass we did at the University of Colorado in Boulder, with 1,400 people, we had this young DJ, 28 years old, who had led raves in Johannesburg, Paris, London, Berlin, Tokyo, Sydney, Bangkok, New York, and Chicago. In other words, he's only 28. Rave is a universal language already of the younger generation. They're celebrating this way, dancing all night, all over the world, and the church is asleep and wondering why no one under 30, 40 gives a damn, because it's so boring. So, you know, the power, the potential of this is tremendous. My vision, here's my vision. You know, in American cities, I don't know if you have this in Italy so much, but we have these big complexes of theaters where, you know, there's one theater that's showing 20 movies, you know, and these are all over the shopping malls in America. Okay. I have a vision of there being a ritual center in every city in America, where rituals like this can be happening on a regular basis. It's wonderful employment for young people. It brings the artists into the center of culture. It's about healing and celebrating and grieving, which is a part of healing. And it put a lot of people to good work. And that's my vision, to kind of displace Hollywood with healthy spirituality.
And how can you distinguish, avoid, let people think this is a show?
That's right.
Because it's prayer. It's very clear from the start. First of all,
because the language is the language of a show, music show or something.
No, it's not anything like that. It's prayer. It's a mass. That's why we call it a mass. And right from the beginning, for example, when people walk in, there are altars. The team creates altars, at least 4, that bespeak the theme of the day. Say the theme is recovering the divine feminine, for example. And of course there's candles, if candles are allowed. Some places don't allow flames anymore. But no, they know what they're getting into. That's why we call it a Mass. This is about prayer. But remember, the Mass did not belong to the Vatican. Leonard Bernstein wrote a Mass and he's Jewish. Bach wrote a Mass and he's Lutheran. So it's absurd to give the Vatican all that power and say only the Vatican version of the Mass is the Mass. No, what we're saying is very political. We're telling the Pope he doesn't know how to pray very well because the form is wrong. The form is from the past. It's dead. It's rather dead. But we're taking, in fact, the best of the form, and what we've learned is, if you look at the Catholic Mass, it really is structured via positiva, negativa. So the Gloria is via positiva. The negativa is penance, but it should be grieving. The Eucharist is via creativa. What's more creative than recognizing and eating the power of the universe itself? And then the via transformativa is ite missa est. You know, go, the Mass is over. Go back to work and community and do something. You know.
So it's really a reinterpretation of the basic structure.
Absolutely.
You don't just throw away tradition.
Nothing.
You want to reinvent tradition.
Of course.
That needs to be very, very clear for Italians.
Yeah, it's a hermeneutic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. They would stress that this is the old Mass and this is the new, and they're related.